The NFL is a copycat league. This is a statement that I have heard many times during broadcasts, on sports talk radio, and while reading articles. You've probably heard it too if you're someone who is a big NFL fan. And even if you haven't heard that phrase, you've seen it in practice. The most famous or infamous example of this in recent history is a New England Patriots assistant who gets hired as a head coach by an NFL team with the hope that the genius of Bill Belichick and the success of the Patriots organization will rub off on them and they will lead their new team to glory. And while some of Belichick's assistants have had some success with their own teams and others, specifically Brian Flores in Miami, seem to be good head coaches with a bright future, most of the time these men do not live up to expectations. Another huge trend to illustrate this example was how the success of the Los Angeles Rams under head coach Sean Payton in 2017 and 2018 led to teams searching for a coach for their own team that could fit the mold of a young, energetic, offensive-minded coach who could implement a similar scheme as McVay's. Coaches like Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, and Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona are prime examples. This brings us to our topic for today's video, Taysom Hill. Hi everyone, my name is Adam Chalmers. Today we're going to be looking at nearly every Taysom Hill play from the first 4 games of the 2019 season. I hope that you are doing well. I am not a football genius. I do not know every intricacy of this complicated game that we love. I am simply someone who loves this game and loves learning more about it. I hope you will go on this journey with me as we spend several videos breaking down Taysom Hill's 2019 season to see how he was used, what made it effective, and how Saints head coach Sean Payton built on and expanded his packages for Hill throughout the season to create the frenzy around Taysom Hill that would lead to NFL fans proclaiming him as the template for a completely new type of NFL position, a throwing, running, catching, special teamer known as the utility player. While Taysom Hill has a great story, going from an undrafted quarterback at BYU with an injury history to a 26-year-old practice squad rookie to completely transcending the role of a backup quarterback, today we are simply breaking down the film. I want to start by saying that we are not looking at every single time that Taysom Hill is on the field, as he did have a lot of reps on various special teams. But we are looking at every pass, rush, reception, and some plays where he was targeted in the first 4 games. Keep in mind that Taysom Hill's number is 7, so be on the lookout for number 7 as we go through these plays. We start at week 1 of the 2019 season, Houston at New Orleans. The Saints are down 7-0, but driving in Texans territory. It's 2nd and 5 and Taysom Hill is at quarterback. The Saints are in an 11 personnel look, which means that there is 1 running back and 1 tight end. You see Drew Brees lined up at receiver at the bottom of your screen. Hill motions Alvin Kamara to his left, the Texans adjust, the ball is snapped, and it's a handoff up the middle. To me, this is almost certainly read option, as Saints tight end Jared Cook, on the right of your screen, completely avoids Texans defender Whitney Merciless, who does a great job squeezing the play down. Hill makes the correct read at quarterback, but the Texans do a great job rallying to the football, and it's just a short game. Let's move on to our second clip. This is on the same drive, 3rd and 9. Drew Brees is back at quarterback. Now Hill is lined up at receiver at the bottom of your screen. New Orleans is in a pistol formation with trips, or 3 receivers, to the right side. Not much to talk about here. Brees looks for star receiver Michael Thomas at the top of your screen, who is running an in route. Taysom Hill looks to be running a wheel route to the end zone. He has inside leverage on his defender and breaks off his route at the end where it almost looks like he runs in a semicircle. With a good ball from Brees, it's probably a touchdown, but Brees is faced with pressure before Hill gets open and just throws the ball away. We move on to the third quarter. The Saints are down 14-3. It's 1st and 10. Hill's pre-play alignment is very interesting to me. He starts lined up as a tight end on the left side of the formation, but is motioned with his fellow tight end across to the left side of the formation, where Hill eventually lines up as a receiver. This is just a basic bootleg play. Drew Brees fakes a handoff to the left to running back number 28 Latavius Murray, rolls back right, and throws to Hill in the flat. Unfortunately, Taysom can't hold on. Good hit by the defender, and it's an incomplete pass. Next 3 clips are all from the same drive later in the third quarter. The Saints are down 21-10. Hill is back at quarterback. On this play, he keeps it for a short gain. This looks different than the read option Hill ran in clip number 1. This looks like a keeper all the way to me. Here's my reasoning. If you notice, the Texans defender, who would be the read key on the read option, plays Taysom Hill. He doesn't crash down on Alvin Kamara. So if this is a read option, it's a complete misread by Hill. What makes me think this is a keeper is because number 87 for the Saints, Jared Cook, pulls across the formation to perform a kick-out block on the defender who would be the read key. This is a design run for Hill disguised as a read option. This is a good play considering they ran read option earlier, but the Texans again do a phenomenal job in pursuit, and Hill is only able to gain yards because of a good turn upfield and a broken tackle. Now the Saints have driven down to the Texans' 15-yard line as the third quarter winds down. It's 2nd and 10, Taysom is at quarterback. They are in shotgun formation with 2 receivers on each side. The play basically looks like straight QB power sweep to me. Maybe Sean Payton is trying to fool the Texans here by getting Hill on a quick outside run. He takes the snap and immediately starts running left to get blocks set up. Both of his guards immediately start looking to the second level to find a linebacker or safety to block. His left tackle, center, and right tackle are pulling, which means they start by running left and then turning upfield to try to create a running lane for Taysom. You may notice the slot receiver on the left for the Saints come down to block the edge rusher for the Texans to make sure he doesn't blow up the play. The blocking is average. Left tackle Teron Armstead, number 72, does a great job blocking at the bottom of your screen. Again, good team defense from the Texans, but Hill is able to pick up 6 yards to set up a big 3rd down and 4. And our next clip is actually the very next play. Breeze is back at quarterback. Hill is now lined up at outside receiver at the very bottom of your screen. They are in a shotgun spread look with 4 receivers. The Saints run what looks to be a switch route here. Both sides are doing the same thing. I've also heard this called a rub route. When I see a play like this, I immediately think about the Deshaun Watson to Hunter Renfrow game-winning touchdown pass in Clemson's national championship victory over Alabama. Michael Thomas, who is in the slot beside Hill, runs a wheel route. Hill runs almost a combination of a slant route and a curl route. You can see how he runs into the defender who is trying to switch onto Michael Thomas, which technically is illegal, but isn't called. This leads to both of the Texans defenders being unable to guard Hill. The safety can't close quick enough, and this leads Taysom Hill to make a nice catch for a big touchdown to get the Saints back in the game. This is the last play we will look at for Week 1. The Saints ended up winning on the last-second field goal. Taysom Hill's stats for the game were 2 rushes for 8 yards and 1 catch for 9 yards and a touchdown. We now go to game number 2, where the Saints travel to LA to take on the Rams. If you followed the Saints season this past year, you know that Drew Brees was injured early on in this game. We head to the second quarter where Teddy Bridgewater is now at quarterback. The game is tied 3-3, and the quarter is winding down. This formation starts out with a trio of receivers to the left side, but we see Teddy motion Taysom across the formation. After the ball is snapped, we see a double post by the receivers at the bottom of your screen. Hill is running a crossing route. He breaks his route down and settles in the dead space between the zone defense of the Rams. Good call from Payton, good throw from Bridgewater, good route from Hill, and the Saints gain 10 yards. Now we jump all the way to the fourth quarter where the Saints are down 27-9 with around 7 minutes to go. The Saints are in the shotgun and a bunch trips look with Taysom Hill at receiver at the very bottom of your screen. Another pass play here. We see Hill run a shallow crossing route along with his fellow Saints receiver at the top of your screen. It's 3rd and 4, so Hill makes sure to run a route deep enough to get the first down. Bridgewater again hits him in between the zones. Good play. Now we go to later in the drive. It's 3rd and very long. Taysom is on the right side of the formation, very close to the line of scrimmage. The ball is snapped. 3 Saints receivers are basically just running curl routes to the first down marker. The Rams once again are in zone coverage. It looks like a Rams lineman either hits Bridgewater's arm or tips the ball because the throw comes out terrible. The ball still somehow makes it to Hill, who is almost able to make a really good catch, but it falls incomplete. That's it for game number 2. Not really notable for Hill as he only has 2 receptions for 16 yards. We now travel up to Seattle. We start in the second quarter in a game that is tied 7-7. Taysom Hill is at quarterback with Alvin Kamara beside him. It's 3rd and 3. The result of this play is a handoff to Kamara for maybe 1 yard. To me, this looks like a handoff all the way. I may be wrong on this. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm not the best expert at breaking down NFL film, but here's my reasoning. Unlike in our very first play from the Texans game, where tight end Jared Cook didn't even attempt to block the edge rusher for the Texans, Cook here on this play very clearly tries to block number 90 Jadeveon Clowney for the Seahawks. I don't see a read key. I don't see an unblocked defender for Hill to read. It's 3rd and short, so in my opinion, Saints coach Sean Payton is using the running threat of Taysom Hill to get some Seahawks defenders to freeze and focus on Hill, which would give Kamara space to work, but it is unsuccessful. Now we skip forward all the way to the fourth quarter. The Saints are up 27-14. It's 1st and 10. Saints are driving in Seattle territory and Hill is still at quarterback. To me, this looks basically like the same play we saw from the Texans game, just in a different formation. It's a version of quarterback sweep. Notice the offensive line here. All of them except the right tackle are reach blocking, which means they're trying to gain the outside leverage on their assigned defender. The right tackle is pulling in front of Hill, acting like a lead blocker. The two receivers at the right, one of whom is actually a tight end, are coming down on the defenders inside of them to seal off that edge. The Saints aren't able to seal the edge. Hill turns upfield and picks up 5 yards. Now we're just a few plays later. It's 3rd and 4. Hill is lined up at receiver at the very top of your screen. He is motioned inside and Bridgewater immediately rises and throws a type of quick tunnel screen. They're just trying to get the ball out in Taysom's hands here and let him try to pick up 5 yards on a 3rd and 4. The other two receivers on his side of the formation both are blocking and trying to create a lane for Hill. Taysom follows these blockers and fights to fall forward on contact, and he's able to gain the first down. That's all for this game. And again, Hill's stats aren't impressive at all. Just 1 rush for 5 yards and 1 reception for 5 yards. The Saints win 33-27. We now go to game number 4, and it's our final game for the day. The Saints are back at home playing the Cowboys. We are in the first quarter. It's 3-0 Cowboys, and the Saints are around midfield. Hill is at quarterback. Jared Cook is motioned from the right side to the left side of the formation. This is the read option, and Hill keeps for a big game. Dallas bites hard on Kamara, especially the read key number 58 Robert Quinn. If you look at the camera angle from behind the offense, you can really see just how aggressive the defense commits to Kamara here. This leaves a ton of room for Hill to run. He's able to outrun really the only front 7 defender for the Cowboys who wasn't fooled or blocked, number 55 Leighton Vander Esch, and Hill is able to pick up a big gain. He runs over number 25 Xavier Woods, and is finally able to break off a huge play by keeping on read option after spending the first 3 weeks handing off to Kamara or gaining small amounts. And now for our final play of today's video. We go to the fourth quarter, actually the very first play of the fourth quarter. The Saints are down 10-9, but are on the Cowboys' 11-yard line. It's 2nd and 5, and Hill is at quarterback. Basic shotgun formation with 11 personnel and 2 receivers at the top of your screen. We see once again New Orleans tries to run read option with Hill. Robert Quinn, the defensive end for the Cowboys, once again pursues Kamara. This could be over aggressiveness, or with how good the Cowboys linebackers Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch are, the coaches could just be telling Quinn to take Kamara no matter what and trust that their backers can take Hill. And that's basically what happens. Smith, number 54, and Vander Esch, number 55, do a great job containing Hill and forcing him to run horizontal instead of allowing him to cut upfield. Number 30, Anthony Brown, is able to do the same thing at the very end, and this play loses maybe a half yard. Great defense by the Cowboys here. Taysom Hill's stats for this game are 2 rushes for 16 yards, and the Saints beat the Cowboys 12-10. These first 4 games teach us a few things. First, it shows that Taysom Hill wasn't a game-breaking X-factor who dominated teams all year. In the first quarter of the season, he did work on special teams, and he had a few packages where he could pick up a few yards when the Saints needed it. He was used mostly either in the second quarter to try to confuse the defense and help kickstart or finish off a Saints drive as halftime draws closer, or in a pivotal second half situation to throw a wrinkle in the Saints offense, confuse the defense, and get a crucial score to help propel the Saints to victory. His lack of use could also be attributed to Drew Brees' injury. With Teddy Bridgewater as the starting quarterback, it meant that Taysom Hill was now the backup. I'm sure that Sean Payton didn't want to run the risk of his backup quarterback getting injured. We see this in the numbers, as almost half his plays come in the first game. Secondly, it gives us an example of the cat and mouse game that is NFL football. To me, the most important play of today isn't the touchdown reception, it's the long run against the Cowboys. After 3 weeks of film showing Taysom Hill mostly handing off, the Cowboys are more inclined to focus their attention to Kamara. And when they do, Taysom is able to break off a huge run. And then later in the game, when the Saints run it again, the Cowboys remember that earlier play and are able to make a beautiful defensive play against Hill and force him out of bounds for a short loss. It will be interesting to see as we continue our journey how these plays from the first 4 weeks will serve as the baseline to which Sean Payton can create an entirely new plays off of to full defenses with his ultimate utility player, Taysom Hill. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like more content like this, please consider subscribing. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave them down below. I hope you have a great day and stay safe.